Milan, Venice, the papacy, Florence, and Naples, and several minor city-states which tended to ally themselves with their nearest powerful neighbour. The balance of power between the major territories was constantly threatened by the covert shifting of allegiances. Militarily weak Florence had clung to its status as a major power largely through Lorenzo the Magnificent's diplomatic skill and his tactical astuteness in perpetuating the idea of the city as the centre of Italian culture. Here the Renaissance had first come to fruition, financed by the patronage of its great banking families, with Florentine artists and architects regarded as the finest in Europe, the pride of Italian civilization. Even so, Florence remained vulnerable to brute military force, requiring a constant diplomatic effort to keep its neighbouring states at bay. As a consequence, Ludovico Sforza of Milan was not the only powerful Italian leader with whom Lorenzo the Magnificent maintained constant diplomatic dealings, and whom he succeeded in making his personal friend. Perhaps his most surprising alliance was with the aging King Ferrante of Naples, a man notorious for his treachery, who in his earlier years had delighted in showing visitors his museum of mummies, consisting of the embalmed bodies of his enemies. Yet, when Ferrante had hatched a plot to assassinate Lorenzo and sent the Neapolitan army to invade virtually defenceless Florence, Lorenzo had been willing to risk his life by dashing to Naples to confront Ferrante personally. The sheer bravado of the 29-year-old Lorenzo's gesture had so won the admiration of Ferrante that he too declared himself Lorenzo's firm friend. Likewise Pope Innocent VIII, a slippery character of part Greek descent, of whom it was said that he begat 8 boys and just as many girls, so that Rome might justly call him father. Lorenzo cemented an alliance with Innocent VIII by arranging for the Pope's eldest son, Franceschetto Cibo, to marry his daughter Maddalena de Medici. Lorenzo certainly lived up to his sobriquet. Even his contemporary Niccolò Machiavelli, ever the sardonic and incisive observer of political affairs, was dazzled. Lorenzo was loved by fortune and by God in the highest degree, and as a result all his enterprises came to a successful conclusion. His way of life, his prudence, and his fortune were known and admired by princes far beyond the borders of Italy. This last was no exaggeration. Machiavelli names the Sultan of Turkey and the King of Hungary as Lorenzo's friends, and in the grounds of Lorenzo's villa of Poggio a Caiano he kept a pet giraffe so gentle it would take an apple from a child's hand, which had been sent as a gift by the Sultan of Babylon. But, as Machiavelli makes plain, Lorenzo was no saint. His great virtues may not have been flawed by serious vices, but he did, however, involve himself in the affairs of Venus to an astonishing degree, as well as delighting in facetious gossip, pungent wit, and childish games more than was fitting for a man of his position. Yet such apparently frivolous traits may well have contributed to his charm, and aided his more serious endeavours, as Machiavelli understood. His reputation for prudence grew with every year, for he was winning and eloquent in discussion, of sympathetic wisdom when it came to resolving issues, as well as being quick of impulse when action was necessary. Thus was the man who had guided Italy through such treacherous political waters that Innocent VIII would famously refer to him as the needle of the Italian compass. Despite all this, in Florence, Lorenzo's position was rather more contentious. The city was theoretically a democratic republic, a matter of great pride to its citizens. At this time, when the separate territories that made up Italy were ruled for the most part by absolute rulers, a king, a pope, an oligarchy, hereditary dukes, petty tyrants, and so forth, only in the Republic of Florence did citizens have a say in their government. In times of crisis, all male members of the population over the age of 14 would be summoned by the tolling of a bell to assemble in the main square for a Parlamento. Here they would vote in a Balia, an emergency committee that had full power to deal with the crisis as it saw fit. Under more normal circumstances, the city was ruled by the gonfaloniere, literally standard-bearer, and his 8-man council, the Signoria, each of whom was regularly selected by lot from special leather